It's just a cheap notebook, cost maybe 50 cents back in 1970. The spine is cracked, the pages are yellow now, but for 30 years, this little black book was a weapon. I used it to hurt the woman sitting right next to me. We called it being fair. We called it equality. We were idiots. See that sun coming through the window? It feels warm on my hands now. It's peaceful here. Denise is dozing in her chair. But back then, this house wasn't a home. It was a courtroom. And this book was how we proved the other person guilty. If you are sitting there right now, thinking about how much more you do than your partner, if you have a list in your head of everything they owe you, stop, please. You are poisoning your own water. I need to tell you this before my time runs out. Don't scroll away. We worshipped a false god back then. We called it the 5050 rule. It sounds perfect on paper, doesn't it? Everything equal, everything fair. But in reality, it was hell. I wasn't a husband. I was an accountant. Every night, I'd sit in this chair not relaxing, but calculating. I mowed the lawn for an hour today, I'd think. So why is she sitting down? She owes me. If Denise cooked, she expected me to clean. If I drove the kids to practice, I made sure she knew exactly how much traffic I sat in. We weren't partners. We were business associates negotiating a merger that was going sour. We thought we were winning because we never let the other person get away with anything. I remember, God, it's embarrassing. I remember the milk fight of 1988. Denise bought the wrong milk, 2%, instead of whole. A tiny thing, a nothing thing. But because I was keeping score, because I felt I was giving more that week, I exploded. I slammed the carton on the counter so hard it split. Milk dripping down the cabinets. I yelled, "Why can't you just get one thing right?" I saw her eyes go cold. Not sad. Cold. I won that argument. I proved she was wrong. I was technically correct. And I sat there eating my cereal in a silent kitchen, feeling absolutely righteous. We were perfect roommates. We paid the bills. We raised the kids. We kept the house clean. But there was no oxygen in the room. We were suffocating each other with fairness. I thought I was fighting for respect. I didn't realize I was fighting a war against the only person on my team. It wasn't a heart attack. It wasn't a divorce lawyer knocking on the door. The moment that broke us was quiet. Terrifyingly quiet. It was a Tuesday in 2005. Our daughter, Sarah, had come over for dinner. She was 30 then, having trouble in her own marriage. She was looking for answers, looking to us for an example. And what did she see? We were sitting at the dining table. The only sound was the scraping of forks against china. Clink, scrap, clink. I remember Denise asked me to pass the salt. I didn't just pass it. I sighed. A heavy, loud sigh. Because in my head in that cursed ledger I was thinking, I cooked the roast. Why can't she just reach for the salt herself? I shoved the shaker toward her. She took it without looking at me. Her jaw was tight. That's when Sarah put her fork down. She didn't yell. She looked tired. She looked at me, then at Denise, and she asked the question that still haunts me. She said, "Mom, do you and Dad even like each other?" The room stopped. "Of course we love each other," Denise said, too quickly. It was a reflex, the correct answer. Sarah shook her head. "I know you love each other. You're committed. You pay the bills. But do you like each other? Are you friends? Because sitting here, it feels like you're just enduring each other." Enduring. That word hit me like a hammer to the chest. I looked at my wife, really looked at her. I saw the grey in her hair. I saw the lines around her mouth that I had put there with my constant fairness. I realized Sarah was right. I didn't know who Denise was anymore. I knew her schedule. I knew her chores. I knew her debts to me. But I didn't know her. We were two skeletons holding hands, marching toward the grave, dragging this heavy sack of grievances between us. That night, lying in bed, the silence was deafening. Usually, I would fall asleep thinking about my work or what I needed to do tomorrow. But that night, I stared at the ceiling fan spinning in the dark. Whir, whir, whir. I thought about the grave. If I died tonight, what would be left? A clean house? A balanced bank account? A wife who was relieved I was gone? That was the crash. The ego died that night. The scorekeeper died. I realized that being right is the loneliest thing in the world. The next morning, I woke up and I made a decision. It was the hardest thing I've ever done. Harder than building my business, harder than quitting smoking. I decided to burn the ledger. Not literally, but in my head. I looked at Denise sleeping, and I promised myself, from this moment on, the score is 0-0, forever. We sat down for coffee. The air was still thick, still awkward. But instead of reading the newspaper, instead of hiding, I reached across the table and I took her hand. Her hand was surprised. She flinched a little. That's how far apart we were. I said, I'm sorry. I'm tired of winning. I want to be your husband again. That was the beginning. It didn't happen overnight. You can't fix 30 years of coldness in a day. But we changed the rules of the house. The first change, the end of 5050, we realized that the 5050 marriage is a lie. It's a myth. Some days, Denise has 0 to give. Maybe she's sick. Maybe she's sad. In the old days, I would have stood there with my arms crossed, waiting for her to do her share. Now, if she has 0, I give 100. And when I am weak, when my back hurts and I'm grumpy, she carries me. We stopped being opponents. We became a relay team. We stopped saying you need to fix this. We started saying, how do we solve this? The second change, the return of the date. We started dating again. I don't mean fancy dinners. Who cares about expensive food when you're 70? I mean, driving to the gas station to get ice cream cones on a Tuesday night, just sitting in the car, licking vanilla soft serve, watching the sunset, talking, not about the bills, not about the kids, but about us. What was your favorite song in high school? Where do you want to travel if we could go anywhere? We rediscovered curiosity. I learned things about my wife of 40 years that I never knew. I learned she secretly hated the blue curtains in the living room. I learned she always wanted to learn to paint. I fell in love with her all over again. Not the young love of a 20-year-old, that's just hormones. This was old love. This was quiet love. It's heavier. It's warmer. The milk moment. Redux. A few years ago, I dropped a jar of pickles. Smash. Glass and vinegar everywhere on the clean floor. The old Denise would have sighed. The old Harold would have gotten defensive. But you know what happened? She laughed. She just laughed and said, well, the floor needed mopping anyway. We cleaned it up together. Our knees creaked. We smelled like vinegar, and we were happy. Because we weren't fighting the mess and each other. It was just us against the mess. The peace of now. Look at this room now. Do you feel that? It's quiet. But it's not the silence of the tomb anymore. It's the silence of peace. We have our coffee every morning at 7 a.m. We sit right here. Sometimes we don't say a word for an hour. But my foot is touching her foot. I watch the dust motes dancing in the light, and I listen to her breathing, and I feel rich. I used to think rich was a big bank account and a perfectly manicured lawn. I was a fool. Rich is looking at the person next to you and knowing that they are not keeping a list of your mistakes. Rich is knowing that if you fall, they won't judge you, they'll catch you. We wasted so many years fighting over who was right. Now, we just want to be close. The ledger is gone. The book is closed. And for the first time in my life, I am free. You don't need a daughter asking if you like each other to wake up. You don't need to wait until you're 80 to understand this. Please, look at your life right now. Look at your partner. Are you keeping a list? Are you waiting for them to pay you back for something you did yesterday? Throw it away. Burn the mental ledger. In a marriage, there is no such thing as winning an argument. If you win and you make your partner feel small, you lose. You both lose. You are not competitors. You are teammates. You are the only two people in the lifeboat. Why are you drilling holes in the floor just to prove a point? Being right is cheap. Being happy is priceless. Go to them right now. Put down your phone. Look them in the eye and tell them, I'm not keeping score anymore. I'm just glad you're here. I cannot get back the years I wasted counting points, but I can help you save yours. Don't let a stupid notebook ruin the love of your life. Share this with the person who needs to hear it. Maybe it's you. I know that burning in your chest. I know it well. You are sitting there right now, maybe hiding in the bathroom or staying late at the office, feeling unappreciated. You feel like you are carrying the weight of the world while your partner is just coasting. You are angry because it isn't fair. I spent 30 years protecting that anger. I guarded it like a treasure. I thought that if I could just prove to Denise exactly how much I did, she would finally give me the medal I deserved. I traded intimacy for accuracy. I was right. I was so incredibly right. And I was the loneliest man on earth. Here is the truth that cost me half a lifetime to learn. Fairness is a concept for courtrooms, not kitchens. In a marriage, you don't want justice. You want mercy. You don't want a judge. You want a witness. Every time you prove your partner wrong, you win the battle, but you burn the bridge, and eventually, you run out of bridges. Please, don't make my mistake. Do this one thing tonight. When you go home and you see that thing that always annoys you, the dirty cup on the table, the shoes in the hallway, don't sigh. Don't add it to the list in your head. Just pick it up, wash the cup, move the shoes, and say nothing, not with resentment, but with love. Be the one who breaks the cycle. Be the one who drops the weapon first. Because I promise you, one day, the house will be perfectly clean. The ledger will be perfectly balanced, but the chair next to you will be empty, and you would give any to have the mess back.